Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Disrupt the Defaults. Today, we have Haley Herridge back with us. If you did not have a chance to listen to the last episode, please do that. She shares all about her career journey, growing up, her love of cooking, how she got on a cooking show. It's very good. So much great info. So definitely check it out if you missed it. And for those of you who have not heard that episode, I'll reintroduce her. So, she is a food and life content creator, a mom of three kiddos, and she is a fellow Arkansan. So, we're both from the great state of Arkansas. And I'm so excited to have you back, Haley. Thanks for coming back.
Oh, yeah. So fun. So glad to be back, Rachel.
Last time we left off, we left you on a cliffhanger. So she'd been
Fun, fun,
applying for
fun.
cooking shows. And we were like, she made it. She got on the show. And then we didn't talk about what happened. So this week, we are going to pick back up where we left off and talk about her experience of being on the show. So tell me more. What was it like to be a contestant on a cooking competition on Netflix?
It was truly one of the best couple of weeks of my life. I would do it over and over and over again. Like there was a lot of hard moments for sure, but it was a blast. Like I never really saw myself as a competitive person growing up, and I definitely found a different side of myself on that show for sure. But I loved every part of it. The actual competition itself, just meeting everyone behind the scenes, and just everything was so fun. I loved it.
So when you're on a show like that, do you get to actually hang out with other contestants? Because I know just watching it, it seemed like y'all had a pretty good rapport with each other and got familiar with each other. So is that part of the process?
Yeah. So normally you get to hang out with the contestants a lot more because even though this was a little bit after COVID, they still had very strict COVID rules. So as soon
Oh,
as we're
okay.
done filming, they're like, okay, mask on, go to the tent. And even when they would drive us from the hotel to the place of filming, we had to wear masks in the van, go directly to our room. I think when it's not like that, you do get to hang out more and go out to eat and hang out with your friends and stuff. But I mean, we did get to chat a lot in the tent offset. And even though we had a mask on, we would still really get to know each other through that. But I think when they do not have all of the strict COVID rules, it's more so like that. But considering we did, we still got to know each other pretty well.
Okay. That's great. Yeah. It seemed, I was like, oh, they seem like they've been friends a while.
Yeah.
And I remember watching the show. This is before I'd actually met you, and I was cheering for. I was so excited for you because, as I said in the last episode, you could just feel the love in your food and the recipes. Usually, they were family recipes. I remember your poppy seed chicken. Oh, I remember your mom made it or a family member, and that felt really cool. So, how did it feel to actually not just realize your childhood dream of being on a show, but to actually win?
It it was just like a very surreal feeling. I remember just standing there and feeling so many emotions of just all the hard work is paying off. I know I am good enough to be standing here, not in a boastful way, but I had confidence in these dishes. And then, like you said, they were all prepared with so much heart because I'd been working so hard to be there. And yeah, it's a wonderful feeling.
Oh, that's so fun. And you did you win? I think I watched this series twice. I rewatched it before we recorded. Didn't you win two? Did you win two rounds?
Yeah, so how it
Okay.
works is kind of like a bracket. So, the first three contestants are on episode one, and then the winner moves to episode two. And so I won episode one and episode two. And then episode three, I got kicked off on the last round. So I moved, there's two rounds in each episode. So I moved past episode three, round one. And then I was beat out episode three, round two.
Okay.
Yeah. But you can
And
only win up to four episodes. So you can win up to, yeah, four.
okay, okay. So you won two. You could win up to four, but you
Mhm.
made it to the final on the third and then was eliminated. Okay. So coming off of, Netflix cooking show, I think it's amazing because millions of people watch Netflix. Do you come home and it's like your life has completely changed. You have a new life. You're a Netflix star. What changed? How is
No,
that?
it's so odd, honestly, because you film the show a year before it comes out. So it's a really weird feeling because you can't tell anyone. The only people that knew about it were my family and my very close friends. What's crazy though is that within that year, it honestly didn't feel long because that's when I had the twins. And
Oh, yeah.
so it honestly could not have come out at a more perfect time because, we filmed it was in November of 21. The show came out October of 22. So it was really perfect because I was able just to focus on the twins. And I think if it would have come out like right when I had them or right before, I wouldn't really be able to do much with it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just like trying to focus on the twins. But yeah, so it was really good timing, honestly. But I'd say, yes, when it did come out finally, I remember we watched it for the first time. It was like 2 a.m. or something weird when it released.
Yeah.
And we just watched it on iPad in bed really late. And then we watched it on the TV during the day. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and so you already had, before you got on the show, you've loved cooking your entire life. We talked about that in last episode. You had a blog, you switched over to Instagram. So you already had an Instagram before going on the show. Coming back from that, what has your experience been like since then of building your brand?
I would say ever since I became a mom, as far as my food brand, it's become a lot more like my cooking style is kind of quick, easy, but still interesting dishes and a good balance between healthy and indulgent. It became that way because you don't have as much time when you're staying home with so many littles. My cooking style really kind of morphed to that. So coming back from the show, it just continued to be like the recipes I cooked on the show are very much that way. That's why Easy Bake Battle was such a great fit, is because everything we were having to cook is, few ingredients under a certain amount of time, but still interesting and, delicious. I still cook that way today. I would say that's still a huge part of my brand and what I share as far as my recipe content. And then I share a lot on stories of just the day to day with my family because I love just kind of sharing our day to day. And I love following along too with people that are just kind of sharing their, everyday life, all the random little things. It didn't have to be glamorous, just kind of fun to keep up with people in that way.
Yeah, I know. I follow
Yeah.
you. So I was going to ask you, how are you were planning, I think, was it a veggie garden in your backyard?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we have oh my goodness, yeah, like little projects like that. Sometimes if they don't get done at the time I want them to, I don't stress too much about it. But
Yeah.
we have two planter boxes in the backyard. We finished all the rocks around them. We have two raised beds. We have one of the boxes completely filled with like the soil and all of that. And then the other one is empty. So all we have to do is just drop like at this point, it's kind of late in the game planting wise. So if we still want to do it within the next few weeks, I'll probably just plant starter instead of seeds. It's
Yeah.
kind of too late for that. You can just plop in little starter plants.
Mm.
I was planning on having a lot of that done, honestly, back in April, but time got away from me. And that's kind of just my go to right now is just, my kids are priority and I will do what I can.
That makes sense. Well, I love following along with your content. I
Yeah,
think
thank you.
it's very relatable, accessible, and like you're saying, your recipes are so simple, but they look delicious and elevated. It's on my list to cook it this month because I try to meal plan in advance. Your one pot spaghetti, that was a
Oh,
big hit.
that we make that probably weekly. I would say that's been my most popular recipe I've shared as far as people reaching out saying it's on their weekly rotation. Cause yeah, that one's just a crowd pleaser. It's just easy, minimal cleanup, so delicious. And you will not want to make spaghetti any other way after you eat it that way. It just clings to the noodle instead of
Oh,
like a
yes.
watered down pasta sauce. It like is creamy and just sticks to the noodle. It's so good.
I cannot wait to make that soon. And I know you were a communications major or PR, right?
Yeah. Public relations. Yeah.
Yeah, PR major, but you did a lot of comm stuff. PR major in college. You've always loved videography, photography. So throughout your career, these things have connected. But I know it's still social media changes so fast. There's so much going on, so much noise out there. How do you figure out what to focus on next, or where do you want to grow, or what interests your followers? How do you figure that kind of thing out on
Yeah,
social media?
I would say, honestly, a couple of months ago, I was kind of in a rut of just like, there's so many little avenues, and I feel like it is important sometimes to kind of niche down. And I actually had a brand audit by two amazing people, Phil and Lauren, and they have a personal branding business. And I sat down with them on a Skype and kind of talked through some of the things I'm already sharing, some of the visions I have, and they really helped me hammer out exactly what it is that will be valuable to my followers and will help them in the line of things that I do. If you can invest in a service like that, that is huge in helping you if you feel like super lost as far as which direction to go.
And you said in terms of, what's direction you're going in now, what's in the future. I know you're focused on helping people create simple meals.
Mhm.
Is there anything you're working on that you're excited about in the future that you want us to know about? Or any tips you have for people like me who are like, I struggle to feed myself, but I don't want to eat out every day. I'm trying to be healthy. What can I do?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, what I've truly figured out that I think will be the most beneficial to people like you and other people that don't necessarily love to cook and spend a ton of time in the kitchen. It's not necessarily their happy place. I think there's so many recipes shared everywhere. Like if it's Instagram Reels, TikToks, it's just saturated with recipes. And a lot of times people will save all these great looking recipes and it can feel overwhelming with, okay, here's this ingredient list that has a million ingredients. And I go to the grocery store and I'm spending $70 for this one recipe I saved on Instagram. And ingredients I'm only going to use one time,
Yes.
and it sits in the back of your fridge and rots, or that fish sauce just expires.
It's so
Um,
frustrating.
yeah, it's frustrating. And especially with the grocery prices now, they're just
Mhm.
outrageous. And so I've really just done a lot of thinking on, what are things that our family is doing to not spend a ton of money and grab all these a million ingredients, because at the end of the day, I want my recipes to be very simple and fast. And so that means very few ingredients. But at the same time, saving money with these different meals and not necessarily having to eat leftovers over and over. Because I'm like you, I don't necessarily want to meal prep the
Yep.
same thing and I eat on that every day for lunch or
No.
dinner. I don't want to do that. So I'm really hoping to come out with, I haven't decided if I'm going to do an end of summer or early fall launch, but I am working on a meal plan that is different than your average meal plan that you
Yeah.
see that requires a lot of ingredients and things. And it's more of like a grocery shopping system where, I don't exactly have it hammered out, but as example, um, you have three proteins, say it's, chicken, beef, and salmon or something. And then you have three different vegetables and three different grains and maybe three sauces that week or whatever it
Mhm.
is. And the recipes that I share within that weekly meal plan is going to utilize those ingredients over and over without it being boring. So like,
Oh.
yeah, so say your vegetables are bell peppers, zucchini, and broccoli. You'll use those over and over. You'll buy a little bit more of each of those vegetables and each of those meats instead of, I feel like I have to buy things for 5 different dinners, and you'll utilize those over and over. And say you get quinoa and, rice or whatever, you'll use those things maybe in Monday's dinner. You'll use it in a different way for, Thursday's dinner, but you will not notice it. It's not like, oh, this is
Ah.
leftovers. And so I really want the meal plan to really be a way that is simple. And I think long term, I've always dreamt of having a cookbook, but
Ooh,
I
yeah.
think not like a normal cookbook, not just the recipes. I want it to really gear to people like you. You don't necessarily have a lot of time or want to be in the kitchen a long time, or a lot of people do not even know where to start and they
Mhm.
just want to get takeout because they dread getting in the kitchen. And I wanted to gear the book and this meal plan and honestly a lot of content moving forward to people like that, and really educate and motivate and just be a light in that space as far as like, okay, here's where we can start. Maybe let's start with really simplifying your kitchen, because I don't know about you, but it is so stressful to cook when you open your pantry or that one deep drawer with all your pots and pans and you
Yes.
just cannot see anything, and all your spices, and you're digging, or in your refrigerator and you have all these things you're having to like reach for, and you have things expired in the back. And a practice that I do weekly, it sounds crazy, but it's honestly pretty simple if you do it weekly,
Uh-huh.
is I take everything out of our fridge, minus like condiments and
Yeah.
things like that, and do a clean out and restock. Because
Ah.
once you are doing this meal plan of 3
Mhm.
proteins, 3 whatever, your fridge is honestly not packed down. It's pretty minimal in there. There's not that many things because you use it all up by the end of the week and then you kind of restart. And so kind of taking out those things like, you kind of always have in your fridge, like if
Yep.
it's eggs and stuff like that, that all kind of stays. But I guess retaking out everything, it's not as much of a chore if you are just simplifying. And so I just want to share a lot more tips and hacks moving forward that's truly going to help people in the long run, opposed to just here's 20 new recipes that even though
Yes.
there's already a trillion out there, like it's not like for someone like you or for someone that doesn't love to cook, a new recipe on their screen is not miraculously going to make them all of a sudden love to get in the kitchen.
Nope.
And they have to have a little bit of back help as far as how to get organized and
Mhm.
how to make it less stressful. And I want to really be a source in that avenue and kind of bridge the gap between, the kitchen hater, and let them just like, they don't have to love it, but they can also not hate it.
Yeah, yeah, it's like, I just
So,
wanna feed myself healthy food that's affordable,
yeah.
and I love what you're saying because I just pulled it up on my phone. I have over 6,000 saved recipes on Instagram in my little recipe folder, and when it's time to cook, I open this and get overwhelmed, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. This is stressful." So
Yep.
I love your idea because a lot of us don't wanna eat the same thing 5 days in a row, but also don't wanna cook 5 different things every single day. So being able
Mhm.
to say, I'm gonna make, this chicken, this salmon, and this quinoa and broccoli or whatever, zucchini one time, and then I get to eat like a salmon bowl or salmon with veggie. I get to change it up. That sounds really great. And
Mhm.
I would love to buy that wherever that
Yeah.
is. So definitely will
And
want to hear more.
it's gonna be free at first just because I want, to get kinks out. I want everyone to be able to try it. And I mean, who knows, maybe like down the road it'll cost a little bit, but yeah, it'll definitely be free at first. But yeah, I think too, every recipe too that I share within that weekly meal plan will be minimal cleanup. I'm talking heat pan, one pot, like that one pot spaghetti that I did. I'm not talking a million dishes on the stove.
I ordered one of those meal prep like box services and I had to cut up, I think, 6 different vegetables for one meal, and I was like, "Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm tired." It said this would
Mhm.
take 30 minutes. It took me 30 minutes to cut this up, and I don't wanna cook anymore. So I
Yeah.
love that it's minimal prep.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing more about that. So definitely follow along, people. We'll tell you at the end where to connect with Haley. So follow along if you want to learn more about how to simplify your kitchen, simplify your meals. So before we end the call, I do want to ask you, in the last year, what's been your favorite new kitchen gadget, kitchen tool that you have purchased and you're like, "Oh, this is a game changer." Or maybe if
Mm.
you haven't purchased anything last year, just all-time favorite.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good question. Honestly, I try to every new gadget that comes out, I try like an example. Right now, a huge one is the Ninja Creamy.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I wait. I wait and I'm kind of skeptical for a little while. And even if it's wonderful, I truly think, okay, well, I use that daily. Well, I use that weekly because I don't like a lot of appliances. We don't have a ton of counter space either. And so I
Mhm.
do not want a million appliances. A lot of times, this is kind of going off the question, but I think a good piece of advice when it comes to all these gadgets and things you see influencers trying to influence you on, I think it doesn't mean it's always the best or you don't need it. You don't
Yeah.
need it. It might be cool. I'm not saying it's a bad product, but you might not actually need it. You could find a creative way to do something similar. I have pretty minimal tools, honestly, but as far as some of the things I feel like I use daily that I do think are worth it, a good blender. I make smoothies a lot for my kids. Having a good blender is a good thing because there's a big difference between when it's just kind of chunky and icy and not blending it versus a good
Yes.
one. So, yeah, I'd say a good blender I use daily, a good set of knives, sharp knives. I'm sure you've heard that one. If you have dull knives, that can be, you're putting more pressure and it can be a little more
Yeah.
dangerous. So, yeah, good knives. I'd say when it comes to pots and pans, I have learned a lot of the hard way on that. There's a
Uh-huh.
lot of trendy pots and pans out there right now, kind of block out that noise because a lot of times I'll go and ask chefs and other people in the food industry that have cooked on pots and pans multiple hours a day and what stands the test of time, you know?
Ooh, that's a good
And
question.
and so I've tried like every trendy pan out there, and then like within a year of cook, because I cook more than most people, and so
Yeah.
within a year, I'm like, this is a trendy gimmick. It's cute on my stove,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work after a year. So I would say just honestly investing in good pots and pans and knives. And my favorite gadget, I would say, is just a good blender. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I
Yeah.
learned that the hard way. I had a cheap blender. I'm like, why do I care about a blender? And then I got a nice one. I'm like, oh my gosh, my smoothie doesn't have huge
Yeah.
chunks in it.
Yeah.
It's so nice. Oh, well, thank you so much. It is so great to hear your story and your resilience of how you kept going even after hearing no. You got your dream. You got on the cooking show. You took something that was a hobby at first and turned it into your full-time thing. So I think that's really inspiring and really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy, so thanks for taking the time to chat with us.
Well, you're wonderful, Rachel. I really appreciate your time too. And you're so fun.
Oh, thank you. And I do want to say, can you remind us where to find you?
Yes, mainly just on Instagram at Hey Herridge. That's HayHerridge.
I will link that. So I'll link her Instagram. If you have not watched Easy Bake Battle on Netflix, check it out. It's a really fun
Yes,
show.
it is so fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching it. So definitely check it out. Definitely follow along with Haley and appreciate you as always for tuning in. Have a good day.